Hey everyone, this is Oscar from Underdog, and last week I was analyzing a song by Moderat called Fastland. You may or may not know Moderat. If you don't know them, congratulations, you're gonna love them. It's a collaboration project between Mode Selector and Apparat. And a while ago I thought they had stopped the project, but apparently not. I don't really know. What I care about is this song and the lead in this song. Because looking closer at this lead makes me realize that they break the #1 rule in electronic music composition, and I want you to understand why, and I want you to understand what you can learn from it. The actual rule-breaking thing is step number 3, but I want you to start with me at the start. Let's go. First, let's do a very simple beat. This kind of reminds you of Massive Attack's Teardrop. Just boom, 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 boom. Bit of sound design on there. Nothing too crazy. 134 beats per minute. Okay, this is just the background. Now let's go into step number 1, which is the melody. So here we go. Do, 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 do. I'm playing this right now simply on an analog synthesizer set to sine wave because I'm not sound designing this. I'm just playing the notes that I hear in the riff, right? As you notice, there are 4 white notes, C, D, F, and A. You might, if your music theory brain kicks in a little bit, you might think, well, maybe this is in C major. Very plausible, but somehow if you play that scale over this, it doesn't quite feel right. Instead, something magic happens in step 2, which is, on that same riff, we add a second oscillator and we pitch it down 7 semitones. It goes like this. Let me compare that to the first one. Second one. Sounds really warm and rich, right? So what's happening here is that we were picking out the melody based on the top notes. However, if we add an oscillator 7 semitones down, what we're really creating is a synthesizer that's playing a power chord. Watch this video on power chords if that's confusing to you, but basically the root note of the harmony that sits behind this riff is actually 7 semitones down. So it's almost as if the synth is playing these notes together. One oscillator is playing the top line, one oscillator is playing the bottom line. And so if we wanted to know more about what scale we were in, we would look here and we would see that this is in fact a black note right here, and that incorporating this black note into our scale means that we are most likely in F major, or based on the emotion of the song, more likely in D minor. So if you wanted to count that from major, you would go 1, 2, 4, 6. And if you wanted to count that from minor, you would go major 3, minor 4, major 6 to minor 1. I prefer counting from the major scale just because it's easier in my mind. I don't have to remember 2 systems. But now let's get to the point where they break music entirely. When you learn to produce electronic music, even when you're just listening to electronic music, you realize that most musical decisions happen in blocks of 4. Every bar has 4 beats inside of it, and most things repeat themselves in blocks of 4 bars, or 8 bars, or 16 bars. It's like the whole enormity of music is based on things that happen in a factor of 2. 2, 4, 6, 8, 16, etc. However, if we actually pay attention to what this lead is doing, it stretches out, and it's more than 4 bars long, but then usually when a pattern is more than 4 bars long, it's 8 bars long. But no, not in this case. The lead is in fact 7 bars long. Whereas most music would have 4 bars, and they would repeat here. But in their case, they loop here, and that is a really bold musical decision. They do still respect the multiples of the bars, but this is almost like a very, very big polymeter type thing. So with the drums, pay attention to how long this riff is, right? It would repeat there, but it repeats every 7 bars. Super weird. And it has a little pitch bend at the end there as well. A little pitch bend as a kind of a turnaround to make things sound a bit more weird. This, by the way, is done on a little analog synthesizer with some sawtooth waves, again playing the normal note and minus 7 semitones. Extremely long boom. And you get used to it because it's so repetitive. They do it again and again and again in the song. It never changes. So it doesn't even feel wrong, it just feels hypnotizing. And you lose a sense of time a little bit because it always sits a little bit next to what your intuition would tell you where it should be. Because it should be this length, but it's not. Now, before you go off and use this technique in everything that you've ever done, do remember that if a DJ wants to play this in their set, it takes a very skillful DJ to be able to align this with another track in a way that feels natural. Most dance music songs follow this invisible structure of fours because it's also expected that a DJ can mix one into the other more seamlessly. You couldn't blindly mix this into something else. You would need to really prepare it and think about it and plan it. And so, maybe many DJs might avoid mixing this into their set because it is so weird. Now, as a level 4, I went into some sound design and I came up with this. All right, cool. So what this is a diva set to the Moog template. So it sounds very much like a Moog synthesizer. And on here, there are 3 oscillators. Let me turn up only the first one. I would call this the nose of the sound, the very top. It goes into some distortion later on, by the way. But then let's add in that second oscillator. Super nice. Detuned -7 semitones, right? And then let's add in a sub oscillator, which I've mapped to a macro, to make it sound really big. I've also mapped the cutoff of the filter so that you can really open it up and give it crunch or bring that down. I've also included a high pass filter just so they can sit in the distance, like during the breaks. During the breaks of the song, it really sits in the distance as well. And then something that I quite liked was that I put it through an audio effect rack. This is it without the audio effect rack. And in parallel, I added in a chain that basically, it takes away all the low frequencies, puts it through enormous reverb, enormous decapitator on punish mode, I think. It's not on punish mode, but it's on 7 on the drive, that's pretty big. And then it goes through an OTT, basically an upward and downward compressor that makes sure that this is always at the same volume. So even if I reduce the cutoff, it still highlights even that dark sound, if that makes sense. And so together with the original, it adds this top crunch that's really satisfying. And with the drums, oh yeah. And that's basically my little love letter to this song. I'm going to do a full track analysis of this over on the Patreon soon, so be sure to go support me there. If anything that I said here was confusing to you, go follow my Foundations of Electronic Music course on my website. Come show us on the Discord channel what you did with this, and until next time, stay producing, be good to each other, and take care. Bye-bye.